The first step is to cover our client's head with a disposable head net. Now we are going to start the mapping. First, we take a little bit of the concealer and we put it on the back of our glove. With a small angled brush, we start to outline the shape of our client's lips. When you need to stretch your client's lips, it's okay to press your fingers directly on their lips to make sure you don't smudge your mapping. If you notice that the concealer has gotten onto the lips, you can use a clean, wet, angled brush to remove it. Now I'm using a Q-tip dipped in distilled water mixed with green soap to clean up any areas where I've gone outside the edge of her lips. Now we are creating a line to guide exactly where your needle will go to secure the mapping. You want to make sure that the center of her lips aligns with the middle of her nose. And I can see that my center is slightly off, so I'm going to adjust it. You also want to make sure that the peaks are the same distance apart. So from here to here should be the same distance as on the other side. Right now I can see that the distance is not equal, so I'm gonna adjust it. Right now I'm going to remove a little bit of a concealer here to extend the distance from this peak to the middle. Again, I'm using a wet brush to clean the concealer up. When you've finished your mapping while the client is lying down, it's a good idea to ask them to sit up, as some adjustments are easier to make in this position. Now we are asking our client to smile to check how even the mapping looks so far. I noticed that this side looks a little fuller than the other side here at the bottom, so I'm just going to clean up the concealer a little bit. Okay, now we are asking our model to say "oh" to make sure this part is connecting nicely. You don't want to see this line to go this way or that way. It has to connect in one smooth line, just like the other side. It has to be perfectly connected in one line. Now we are asking her to blow a kiss. When she's making a kissing face, we want to make sure that the mapping doesn't go over too much. This side is connected better, but sometimes lip filler can change the shape of the lip slightly. We just want to make sure that this part is even with no parts too low or too high. Now the client can relax her face while we double check the mapping. Okay, now she can take a look and check how she likes the mapping. For this client, we mixed two colors together, with the base color being watermelon with 8 drops and 5 drops of guava. So this is our color. I'll show you in a second what we've got. We are always checking the color on the wet cotton pad and we blend it like this. So this is how it looks. The more color you apply, the brighter it will get. So that's the color. We wanted something not too bright, a nude tone with a very warm undertone. Pretty warm, I'd say. When I place my fingers on the client's lips for stretching, I might smudge my mapping. This is why I'm using setting powder. We're going to take a little bit. This is the brand we're using, but the brand doesn't really matter. We have also added this powder to our Amazon storefront so you can find it easily. Now I'm taking a dry cotton pad. I don't want to apply too much powder, so I rub off the excess on my hand and then gently tap the lips. I'm going to use the Quadron needle cartridge 0.3 1RL LT. Always open the needle in front of your client. We want to cover the connection between the machine and the needle as much as possible. For that, we use tattoo bandage tape. This tape also helps to prevent the machine from slipping in your hand. The slimmer your machine is, the more you might want to apply a thicker layer of the tape. The machine I'm using already has a good thickness, so I just want to make sure it doesn't slip in my hand. So, with my pinky, I pull the skin down slightly and stretch this part a little. You don't need to stretch the whole lip, just unfold the wrinkles. Remember, holding the machine at 90 degrees might not give you the crispiest line. That's why you should tilt it back slightly to about 60 degrees for a sharper result. Also, make sure to go very slow. If you try to do the pass too quickly, it might just not work as good. So now, before I go further, I want to check how I'm doing with my line. Okay, the line is here. And it's also here, so everything looks good so far. I can add a bit of pigment here. So the idea of checking the line with a Q-tip is that in case your line was not successful, you can easily restore it by connecting this part and this part. This is why I'm going piece by piece when I wipe off the line. Now I'm just repeating this piece to make it more pronounced. And then I'm coming back to the section where I left off. As I move closer to the other side of her face, I also adjust her face towards me. Also, make sure not to lean too much on your client's face. Now I'm gonna check before I move forward. The bottom line is ready now. It is now time to move to the top. When working on the side of her face that is closer to me, I make sure her head is turned away. This ensures that I'm comfortable, have a clear view of my work, and avoid leaning or bending unnecessarily. The technician's positioning is very important for precision and comfort. Now I stretch her lip a little bit. We're doing the same motions, repeating the line for 3 times. I'm going to check if I've chosen the right depth before moving forward. I'm just slowly turning her head towards me to make sure I see everything. I'm just checking one more time how I'm doing with my line. If I see that my line is not as pronounced, I just go back and repeat it over again. It's easy to connect two pieces, that's why I'm always checking piece by piece. As you can see, my pinky on my right hand is pressing against her lip, helping to flatten the area I'm working on. When working on large, full lips, it can be challenging, so flattening the surface makes the process easier and more precise. It is very important to go into the same line you did before. Now we are moving forward by adjusting her face. Now, as we work on the cupid's bow, which is slightly more raised area, I'm using my pinky again to apply gentle pressure and flatten the surface for better precision. To connect the cupid's bow more seamlessly, I'm elongating the lines and making them overlap. This ensures there won't be any sparse spots or gaps, creating a smooth and even result. For this model, we're not using numbing at all because we wanted to see how it feels for her without it, and so far she's feeling great. Typically, before starting the procedure, we do apply a thin, even layer of numbing close to the edges of the lips, making sure not to smudge it. We also don't cover it with any film or anything like that. Our numbing works very well on its own. Our model is doing great without any numbing, so it is not really necessary in this case. She did start to get a bit swollen here and there, but not much really. The reason why we don't use any numbing is, first of all, you can secure your mapping much easier. Secondly, the skin won't get swollen as much as when you use numbing. So if I see that my line is not very prominent, I go over it again, connecting the two pieces. Our line is ready, very prominent, very visible, but you mostly need to create a line for yourself to kind of like secure your mapping. But we want to make a line which won't really look like a line when it's healed. So far, we can see it. Now we can start shading. And I do not hesitate to go over the outline we already made. This is a short stroke machine, so I'm using pretty short strokes as well. I want to make sure I don't see any areas where the skin is completely covered. For my each next section, I'm overlapping about 90% of the previous one to build up saturation. When it comes to stretching, I don't stretch the whole lip. I focus only on the area I'm currently working on. So in this area, 90 degrees looks like this, and when I move toward the center, I adjust my machine accordingly. As I go lower, I reposition my machine again. And if I need to work on the mucosa, I approach it from underneath like this. But for now, we're not touching that area since it tends to make the lips swell faster. As for now, we're staying on this surface and we'll move to the mucosa area closer to the end of the procedure. I use a cotton round to cover the area I've already completed to avoid smudging and keep things clean.
The mess.
As I move closer to the center of her lips, I also turn her head slightly toward me. I'm not wiping off the pigment yet. I'll finish the first pass and then clean it. This helps keep the process more organized. I highly recommend this approach for beginners. Wipe only after completing the whole pass. Optionally, you can wipe after each small section, but that can be confusing if you're just starting out. Here in the corner, you want to open the area a bit more. Just pull the lip corner upward and apply a slight push. This is how one full pass looks. On the bottom lip, we applied numbing on both the outline and the lip itself. But you can already see a noticeable difference in color between the top and bottom lips. We'll still need to do another pass on the top. Okay, starting the bottom lip now. I'm turning her face away from me and beginning with the corner. I pull the corner downward to open it up nicely. Remember that the lip is curved, not a perfectly flat surface. You might not be able to flatten it completely, but if you push and roll it down gently, it will make application easier and help you maintain that 90-degree angle. So here, 90 degrees looks like this, and your pinky needs to lift your wrist a bit higher to achieve it. You'll see how the angle shifts as I work. When you keep your pinky here, it's much easier for you to get inside and cover this area. And when you go back, you just roll the lip back. You don't really need to move your wrist much. Your left hand is actually doing most of the movement control. I'm going back to the top again now. We have a little bit of dry skin here, which is why the pigment started to spill slightly. On dry patches, you can use the same technique as you would for scar or for dye spots. You want to just poke like this, but you can see that my needle isn't able to penetrate the dry skin as effectively. So we might not get the best healing in this area, but we'll address that during the touch-up. When I'm working on this area, which is the furthest from me, I make sure my client's head is turned toward me. That way I don't have to move my body too much, and right now it's comfortable, and when I'm comfortable, I'll do a better job. Okay, the first pass is finished. We're now going to begin the second pass. She's still comfortable with the current numbing, but if you need to reapply after the first pass, please use a secondary numbing gel. When you see a group of 4 dye spots, or even just a single spot, they will always appear lighter compared to the rest of the lip. Regular shading doesn't work as well in these areas. That's why it's best to use a dot work technique, similar to what you would use on scars or thicker skin. You can also adjust your needle angle, not only at 90 degrees but also at 60 degrees, to penetrate deeper and achieve better saturation in the spot. Regular shading won't provide optimal results here. Make a few passes and make sure you go over the same spot a few times. We've finished the second pass on the top lip, and now we want to fill in the spots closer to the mucosal area. We do this at the end because working in that area can cause additional swelling. Doing the second pass on the bottom lip now. If I see any lighter spots, I just go back with the dot work technique. Okay, we've just completed the final pass and the lips are fully done. You can see how beautifully the color has settled. At this stage, it's normal for the lips to look a little swollen and more vibrant than the healed result, which will soften in the coming days. I'm now taking some final pictures to document the work and track the healing process. Make sure you always capture your results in good lighting from a few different angles, straight on, side profile, and a close-up. This helps you build a strong portfolio and monitor how the pigment heals over time. Thank you so much for watching the video. We're excited to see your lips blush works.